Welcome back to AI Explained. We're diving deep today, and you ready for this?
Always, let's go.
It's AI and nuclear submarines.
Wow. Yeah, submarines. That's right. We're going way underwater with this one.
I know, right? But really, when you think about it,
It makes sense.
AI is changing everything, and it's not just like,
Yeah, yeah.
self-driving cars or.
Right, right. The usual stuff.
Exactly. So we found this article in Tech Radar, and it's got this really bold claim that AI could make these super expensive stealth submarines,
Billion-dollar machines.
billion-dollar machines, yeah,
Right.
obsolete.
Obsolete. Right.
That's what they're saying. So we're going to break it down. What do you think?
I think it's definitely a fascinating area. And when you look at it, AI is really changing the game under the sea. Think about it. You've got quantum sensors, underwater surveillance arrays, those things.
Oh, yeah.
And even satellite imaging, and all that data is feeding these incredibly powerful AI algorithms.
It's mind-blowing the amount of data.
Exactly. And that's the key advantage of AI here. It can process and analyze vast amounts of data, way more than any human could ever hope to handle. So, imagine trying to find like a tiny little ripple in a giant ocean.
Like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, exactly. But AI can do that. It can sift through all that data and find those subtle signals.
And so that makes me wonder, what about all that cool stealth tech that subs use? The special tiles, the propellers, all designed to be super quiet.
Right, right. All that classic stealth technology.
Is it becoming useless?
It's definitely a challenge because, see, traditional stealth is all about minimizing a sub-signature, right? Making it hard to detect. But AI detection, it takes a different approach. It looks at the whole environment, analyzes everything, and searches for anything, unusual, anything that's out of place, even if it's tiny.
So instead of trying to hide, the sub has to blend in perfectly with everything around it.
In a way, yeah. It's a much more complex problem.
It's a game of hide and seek on a whole other level.
Absolutely. And it's a game that's constantly evolving with both sides. The submarines and the AI trying to outsmart each other. It's a technological arms race.
Oh, I love that, an
Ah.
underwater arms race. So let's talk about those countermeasures. I mean, what are these brilliant minds coming up with?
Oh, there are some really ingenious tactics being developed. Like, have you ever heard of noise camouflage?
Noise camouflage, what is that?
So basically, imagine a submarine that can mimic the natural sounds of the ocean.
Whoa, wait, so it's like creating an acoustic invisibility cloak.
Exactly, like using the ocean's own sounds to hide. Pretty clever, right?
That is so cool. It's like
Yeah.
using the environment against itself.
Yeah.
What else? What other tricks do they have up their sleeves?
Well, there's another approach that involves using those uncrewed underwater vehicles, those UUVs, the drones we hear so much about.
Ah, right, the underwater drones.
And these can act as decoys, drawing the AI's attention away from the real submarine. Like a magician's misdirection.
Oh, that's brilliant. So it's like a strategic distraction.
Yeah, precisely. It keeps the AI guessing, throws it off the scent, and that's just the beginning, really.
So we're talking about underwater drones playing hide and seek with AI systems. It sounds like a scene straight out of a spy movie.
It is. It really is. And, it shows how AI is not just changing the tools of warfare, but it's changing the whole way we think about strategy and tactics. It's not just about brute force anymore. It's about outsmarting your opponent.
It's mind-blowing. It really is. It seems like this AI is really shaking things up down there in the deep room.
It really is, yeah. And the big question is, what does it all mean for the future of submarines?
Right. I mean, are we going to see these giant, expensive subs just fade away?
Yeah.
Like, are they becoming dinosaurs?
It's not necessarily about becoming obsolete. It's more about adapting to this new reality. As AI detection keeps getting better and better, nations are going to have to find clever ways to combine that classic stealth technology with these new AI-powered countermeasures.
So it's like a constant back and forth.
Yeah. Exactly, like a chess match almost, where both sides are always trying to predict and counter the other's move.
It's not just about building a tougher sub. It's about outsmarting the AI that's hunting for it.
You got it. And that's what's so fascinating about all this. It's like this article was saying, it's becoming crucial to understand how AI thinks, What patterns is it looking for? How can we disrupt those patterns?
So instead of just trying to hide, submarines need to figure out how to confuse the AI, mess with its data.
Exactly. You could almost call it digital camouflage. The submarine isn't just blending in, it's actively manipulating the information the AI is getting.
That's wild. Like camouflage 2.0 or something. Are there any other cool developments happening in this underwater arms race?
Oh yeah, there's tons. And get this, there's a lot of research happening in the area of cyber warfare.
Oh, wow. Cyber warfare under the sea.
Yep. So picture this, a submarine that uses AI not just to defend itself, but also to launch these super sophisticated cyber attacks against the algorithms that are trying to detect it.
Well, wait, so like hacking the AI, how does that even work?
Well, it could be anything from messing with the flow of data, feeding it false information, or even just shutting down the AI systems for a while.
So it's not just about torpedoes and sonar anymore. There's a
Oh.
whole digital battle going on underwater.
Right. It's like the battleground has shifted from the physical world to the digital one.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, what's next? Are we going to have these massive AI systems fighting each other underwater while the humans just watch?
That's kind of freaky to think about. But, for someone listening who's not like a military strategist, why should they even care about all this? How does this underwater AI stuff affect their everyday lives?
It's a good question. And here's the thing, this might seem like a very specific niche topic, but it's really a reflection of what's happening everywhere. AI is changing the rules in every field, from healthcare to finance, even art.
So what we're seeing in underwater warfare is just a glimpse of how AI is going to impact every aspect of our lives.
Exactly. It's a wake-up call, really. It tells us that we need to understand AI, its potential, its risks, and the fact that it's not just some tool. It's a force that's shaping our world in huge ways.
I've got to ask you this. We've talked about AI detecting and potentially outmaneuvering submarines, but what about AI actually controlling the submarines themselves? Like, is that a possibility? Are we headed toward fully autonomous underwater warfare?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it takes us into some pretty deep philosophical territory.
Autonomous submarines. It's
Yeah.
like, whoa. It's kind of scary, right, to think about these underwater drones making decisions about, life and death all on their own.
It is a big question. I mean, what role does human judgment have in those situations? It's not an easy answer.
Yeah. On the one hand, I guess you could say that autonomous subs would be super fast, super precise. They wouldn't get tired. They wouldn't, panic under pressure.
Right, they wouldn't have those human limitations?
But on the other hand, wouldn't that also make them harder to predict? Maybe even harder to control? How do we even make sure these AI systems are making the right call? Especially in the middle of a battle when everything is changing so quickly.
That's the big debate with all autonomous weapons systems. It's a big one. A lot of people say it's just too dangerous to take humans out of the loop completely, especially when it comes to lethal force.
Yeah. Like, what happens if something goes wrong? Who's responsible?
Exactly. Critics say it could lead to unintended consequences, things we don't even think about, and even make conflicts escalate faster.
Like opening Pandora's box, right?
Yeah.
Once you let these autonomous weapons loose, can you ever really get them back?
Right. And what if they end up in the wrong hands? Or start acting in ways their creators never intended?
It's a lot to think about.
It is, and it's something that's being discussed at the highest levels right now. Countries are trying to figure out what the rules should be for these kinds of weapons, how to develop them ethically and use them responsibly. It's a work in progress for sure.
Sounds like we're on the edge of a whole new era of warfare. One where the lines between humans and AI get really blurry.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's complex, it's changing fast, and we have to think carefully about the technology itself and what it means for humanity.
So maybe AI isn't replacing human submariners tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's changing the game in a big way, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. And it's only going to get more intense as AI gets more advanced and we see it being used in more and more military systems.
Well, this deep dive has been amazing. I feel like we've gone deep, really deep. We talked about stealth, detection, countermeasures, even cyber warfare, and wow, autonomous subs. What are some of the key things you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that AI isn't science fiction anymore. It's here, it's real, it's powerful, and it's changing the world as we speak. And yeah, underwater warfare is a great example of that.
And it's not just about submarines, right? Everything we've talked about, all these innovations, it's relevant to so many different fields and parts of our lives.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that we need to stay informed, pay attention, and think critically about how AI is shaping the world. Because it's shaping the world, for good and for bad.
This has been incredible. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into AI and submarines. I loved it.
It was my pleasure. It's always great to talk about this stuff.
And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to AI Explained for more amazing deep dives into the world of AI. We've got healthcare, finance, art, entertainment, all kinds of cool topics coming up. So stay tuned, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep asking those big questions.